Let's clap her up as she comes. All right, let's make sure there's sound. Let me know. Good evening, Huddle. So I've got quite a few bits of information to share, so just bear with me and put that right there. So Nan had a very busy Thanksgiving week, as many of y'all know. That included a free turkey giveaway and serving on Thanksgiving Day. We will be again doing hot meals and also incorporating free toys into our Christmas Day feeding and celebration, which will take place here at the House of Justice on Wednesday, December 25th. Which is Christmas Day. We'll be here 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We were announcing previously that we were also going to be doing Brooklyn for Christmas. That is not happening, so we will only be here at the House of Justice serving on Christmas and also giving away toys. Reverend Sharpton also preached at St. Luke Baptist Church in Harlem on last Sunday. Reverend Shane Hilliard serves as pastor of St. Luke, succeeding the late, great Reverend Dr. Johnny McCann. And a lot of our members here at National Action Network are also members of St. Luke, including a lot of our music ministry, led by Tisha Hunter. Tisha's a member there, and so many others are members of St. Luke. So it was great to see so many NAM members in the house to worship with us that joined Reverend Sharpton and St. Luke for an amazing Sunday service. The fight for DEI certainly continues. And what week is this coming up? Somebody want to let me know? 48. So this week is our 48th week of ongoing weekly protests calling for the preservation and protection of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And these initiatives, of course, have spanned us to even have a DEI committee here at the National Action Network New York City chapter, and that committee is overseeing a lot of things, including our weekly demonstrations and how we can continue to bolster our representation and our activism as we are fighting to preserve DEI literally across the country. And we know that, like I said, if we keep the resistance strong, we know that they can't write us out of history. So when they write about preserving DEI, and they write about the ramifications and how in this period, in this time, the fight for diversity, equity, and inclusion was on the line. And corporations are literally convening to strategize to tear down this initiative within corporations. As we know, we've fought very hard to get these ramifications and these liberties or these qualifications and resources available to us and prevalent in our community. And so we will continue to fight to preserve what we fought really hard to accomplish and to pay forward. Reverend Sharpton also preached this past weekend during the 147th anniversary of the historic Dexter Avenue King Memorial Baptist Church. And many of y'all who don't know, that is, of course, the church that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., of course, was a part of. And Reverend Sharpton had the privilege, I would say, but they had the privilege to hear Reverend Sharpton. And Reverend Sharpton was the keynote speaker for their 147th anniversary, and he traveled there Saturday evening after Politics Nation. Ashley Sharpton and JT Trollinger and many others went with him. And it was a historic church. I'll let them speak to that experience, but I'm sure standing in that church, where such history, came from, I think is, probably a full circle moment. And definitely while, we are still in the fight and the fight continues, I'm sure standing in that space, having one of the leading civil rights organizations and the civil rights leader himself speaking from that pulpit, I'm sure was a monumental and historic event. And I'm sure we will, of course, appreciate the historic reference of that for years and years to come. So congratulations to Rev for fighting the good fight and for being present and being there and doing what he does the best. We thank him so much for that. I also want to just iterate, while this is not in the action alerts, certainly is something that is prevalent and definitely relevant. And as we are continuing our thought process and continuing to energize and to support the thought-provoking leaders who will lead this nation, and that's our young people, I just wanted to also iterate this article that was very interesting, and it talks about how Black folks and people of color are not the same. Just look at the election. And this particular journalist talked about in the Griot how if we look at the election and the statistics of how people voted and how people cast their votes, whether they voted for Vice President Kamala Harris or they voted for Donald Trump, well, she's basically saying that grouping everybody into a pool of people of color is not necessarily accurate, because there was a large percentage of people of color who voted for Donald Trump, and a large percentage of Latinos who voted for Donald Trump. And with issues such as the migrant issue that is very prevalent, especially in this country, especially in this city, and we're looking at, how deportation and, so many migrant issues are happening, and resolutions, of course, are, being reported as happening. I don't understand how, and this sister laid it out, and she's basically saying, no, everybody, people of color, they ain't all the same, okay? So you got a lot of people of color, and within that pool, there are people who have different beliefs, who come from different backgrounds, who have different ethnicities, who support different things. And so to group everyone, people of color, as one group is inaccurate. And I thought that was very interesting, the way that she, depicted that, and basically stating how 80% of Latino voters voted for Donald Trump. That's a high percentage of people. That's a large number of people. And so I encourage everyone to read this article. I know that we are going to probably talk more about the voting process as we really want to encourage our young people to understand it. It's one thing to know, okay, yeah, there's a presidential election and it's important for us to vote, but really understand the critical election process and how the election process works and how, local elections affect us greatly and how we need to stay involved. So I know that we'll be having a lot more conversations around this, but I did want to just mention it while I had the time to talk about it in this period. I also want to mention, as we are talking about the election, that a lot of people have also been critical to President Joe Biden, who recently issued a pardon on his son, Hunter Biden. And a lot of people had a lot of mixed reactions to the president's decision, in issuing that pardon. And a lot of people started writing letters. I wanted to talk in particular about the letter to President Biden requesting the pardon of Marilyn Mosby. Many of you who don't know, Marilyn Mosby, who, the former Baltimore state's attorney, who was convicted of, some real, I think, petty stuff, if you think about it. But she was federally convicted for fraud and mortgage fraud and perjury in a prosecution, and many people say that it was unjust and politically motivated. But however you think about it, she definitely deserves a chance to be pardoned. And in the few days that President Biden has left in office, there has been a lot of chatter and requests to pardon certain individuals who we feel should be pardoned or should definitely consider, be considered by the president. And so Marilyn Mosby was one. I know that Attorney Benjamin Crump and also political strategist Angela Rye have been leading the forefront in terms of requesting from the president that Marilyn Mosby be pardoned. Jesse Jackson Jr. and his wife Sandy Jackson, also, people who were in the pool of those who are being requested to the president to pardon. But I would just say that, the president does hold this power, this very important power, and we just hope that he does utilize it, very appropriately in his last few days as president of this great United States. So I just wanted to just iterate, those couple of things, incorporate that into our action alerts, and keep us in the know. So thank you so much. I will be back shortly with more information.
Thank you, Dominique. Ernest, you had a response or question statement? You, stay tuned, you as well. You can come behind, Ernest. Mr. Waters, excuse me.
If Joe Biden doesn't pardon all of the people that's necessary now, they'll be at the mercy of Donald Trump. So everybody that needs to be pardoned or should be pardoned because Donald Trump is getting all those people in his cabinet that was doing a whole bunch of stuff that caused a problem. Sex abuse, all kinds of stuff with women and underage people. So if he's doing all of that, he's getting a free reign. So if we don't pardon all those people that can be pardoned or should be pardoned, then they're going to be in trouble when Donald Trump gets in there. And as far as Biden doing his son, he did the right thing. Because if he left his son in there for the mercy of Donald Trump, then we would have really have trouble. And if Donald Trump is doing what he wants with his cabinet, then his son should be, Biden's son should be pardoned. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You can pass it to say two. Let's clap him up. And just to add, to remind you, Marilyn Mosby was the prosecutor for Freddie Gray. So they said that there was going to be a lot of pushback because she was going to make sure that those cops were taken care of. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Three things. One is, based on the last report that Dominic had mentioned, I'd like to know why these blacks and people voted for Donald Trump. Why? What's the thinking, the rationale behind that? The other thing is that we don't work for Donald Trump. Donald Trump works for us. So
I don't know if he knows that, but you're right.
The reaction should be, I am not going to play the role of victim and say, woe is me, because he might take my Medicare. We should be organizing and having conferences and put together an agenda of the things that we want, since he's the president of all people, whether we voted for him or not, and say, this is what needs to be done. As opposed to sitting back and he's saying, you're grounded for 2 weeks because your grades are not good, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the last thing I want to say is that J. Edgar Hoover once said, when he was going after the Black Panther Party, the biggest upset in America is when you get these black people uniting and talking. That's a no-no. And they've done the best they could from slavery times year to date to make sure that wasn't a possibility. So my counsel is, don't worry about being like the Knickerbockers, where you're not going to win the game and you run out of gas. Be proactive and say, this is what we demand from you as our president, because you work for us, we don't work for you. Thank you.
Thank you, say two. Let's clap up, say two, and Brother Waters. Thank you for your response. And Dominique, that's actually a perfect pivot. Speaking of the agenda that you said, Reverend Sharpton, he announced this past Saturday that we have that agenda, on our behalf and our partners' behalf on January 20th. So that's one of the things that we'll be doing. January 20th is dropping off our agenda to let them know, the Trump administration, exactly what we demand and basically what's on the table and what's important to us. So who has already signed up to go get on a bus or to meet us in Washington for January 20th? That's 100% of the room. Let's clap ourselves up. That's right. Everybody been saying they're tired of marching. I'm glad that we are not tired. We are still here on our duty, on our task. Now, will everyone stand as Dan comes, as we sing our Lift Every Voice and sing the National Black Anthem? The words will be here for those who have complained, and we also have printouts for those who cannot see the board, okay? Let's clap Dan up as he comes.
Amen. Please rise to the occasion to sing with me.
Show your daughter how much you love her with this beautiful gift. It says,
Sing now like we know that love conquers hate. Sing. Sing now like we know that love conquers hate. Sing now that we know that the victory.
Here we go. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Amen.
Thank you, Dan. That's getting better and better. More of y'all seem to have known it. All right. All right, now we will have our Black History Fact of the Day by Dominique Sharpton again. Let's clap her up as she comes.
All right, Black History Fact of the Day. Today in Black History, on December 9th, in 1833, the Philadelphia Female Anti-Slavery Society was founded on December 9th, 1833, in an effort to make their voices heard during a time when anti-slavery groups were forming throughout the North. A team of women came together to form the interracial Philadelphia Female Anti-Slavery Society, the PFASS. Not only did these 60 members challenge slavery laws, but they also advocated for racial and gender equality. Just 3 days after being encouraged by the members of the American Anti-Slavery Society, Quaker abolitionist Lucretia Mott met with 21 women in a schoolroom on December 9, 1833, and on December 14 signed a constitution that outlined the society's mission. We deem it our duty as professing Christians to manifest our abhorrence of the flagrant injustice and deep sin of slavery by united and vigorous exertions. They agreed. Its African-American members included businessman James Fortin's 3 daughters, Margarita, Sarah, and Harriet, who was married to Black abolitionist Robert Purvis. They all were married to that one man. During their active years, they fundraised, established a school for African Americans, conducted a boycott of slave-created goods, and lobbied for emancipation with the petition to Congress bearing the signatures of 3,300 women. They also raised money for the Underground Railroad to clothe, feed, house, and transport slaves fleeing the South. During the Civil War, members of the PFAS group concentrated their energy into the war effort and later focused on granting African Americans the right to vote. The society dissolved in March of 1870. What year was slavery abolished? 1865. So how many years after? 5 years after slavery was abolished, this society dissolved. And after the ratification of the 14th and 15th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution that protected the rights of all those born or naturalized in the United States, regardless of race, and granted African American men the right to vote. And that is the Black History Fact of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dominique. We will have our membership welcome and then report, our crisis report by our National Crisis Director, Patrice Perry.
All right, now, families. Everyone, is everyone an updated member for the year 2024? Please raise your hand if you are. Have you renewed your membership? If not, this applies to you, as well as those who are not members. The best way to stay informed and in the action is to become a member of NAN. Stay informed about NAN events close to where you live. Text JUSTICE, that's JUSTICE, followed by your state to phone number 59769. Join us at the Saturday Action Rally every Saturday at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Danielle. So I just want to give you guys an update on 3 cases that the crisis director, myself, has been working on here at NAN. The first one is, I know I came to you guys about 7-year-old Fatu Kieta, the young lady that was shot 2 blocks up. Thank God she was actually released from the hospital today. So she is home. And about every 2 days, I text her mom just to see, if she needs anything. And she said the prayers have been great. Her daughter's healing well. She's a little nervous. They're going to put her in therapy, but other than that, she's doing great. So thank you. And the mother wanted to say thanks again for the prayers from Nan. Secondly, there's a crisis case that I've been working on with Victor Pate from our Second Chance Committee. A father called Nan in reference to his son who died in prison in February, and he literally just got his death certificate this week because of the work of Victor Pate. So they are working on that. We will keep you updated on that. And lastly, this Thursday, there'll be a funeral for Brother Mike Woody, who was a domestic violence victim from his girlfriend. So keep that family in prayer. His mother, Thea Woody, is really struggling right now and has a 15-year-old granddaughter that she has to explain to as to why her father's no longer here. So we ask you to keep the Woody family in your prayers, and that wraps up my report from the crisis department.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Dan. All right, this is the second section where we have announcements and good news. Anybody have any good news or announcements they want to share? Come on, Lori. Marcus Allen's not here to run to the front with his good news. It's good to see you in the building. That's good news.
So I've been missing because I've been studying.
That's a good reason.
Well, I have some bad news first. So, this was a rough year. I failed 3 or 4 classes and I had to take them over. Sorry. But it all worked out because guess what? I graduate on March 1st, 2025. I'll have my bachelor's of business.
That's great news, Doc.
So that's my good news, and my graduation is in Phoenix, Arizona, at the University of Phoenix. Yeah, so I gotta fly out there. We're gonna figure that out, but that's my good news. I graduate.
Excellent. Education matters. Good news, sis.
Yes, like I said earlier, I was on a train coming back, and there was a homeless man, and I gave him $1 and a muffin, and he thanked me. He said thank you and God bless you. Back to you with Phoenix. Phoenix, Arizona, they don't celebrate Martin Luther King Day. They don't. They're in school.
Okay, that was an announcement. Thank you. Janka.
Okay, my good news, I have good news, is Sister Sandra and I, we hung out and we went to, after the NAN meeting, we went to the Senior Center Flea Market, which was really nice. And then we went downtown and we saw the concert at the General Assembly Church at 118th and by Vig Higginson. And oh my God, it was such a beautiful concert. Everything was good, and we had a lot of fun and good time. And then the second good news is everybody put up your tree. I put up my tree, and it made me so happy because I was kind of depressed with the way the world is. And on my tree, I have 2 ballerinas, one copper skin and one light skin. pretty. The copper skin has like a peacock little feathery dress, glitters like a peacock. And so that makes me very
copper
happy.
skin, the black?
And I wish, and I wish everybody, because God loves variety, all the fruits are different colors. So we gotta realize we're male and female and be really happy. And then my statement is, remember, Victoria Woodhull, a white woman, ran for president with Frederick Douglass Jr. in 1872, the Equal Rights Party. So there was equality, but there are some people who are not equal-minded.
Thank you. Bringing us back to Nan. Frederick Douglass, where Frederick Douglass was buried is where the march will start at on January 20th. So let's bring that back to relevance. Come on, Ernest Waters.
I'm saying around Thanksgiving and Christmas time, people always do acts of kindness. But to everybody here and everybody in the sound of my voice, acts of kindness should be all year through, not just Christmas and Thanksgiving. And one time I had took 100 envelopes and put some money in it, and I'm walking down the street, and a guy is calling, Ernest, Ernest. And I turn around and look. He runs across the street, and he said, I remember you from the hospital. I said, what hospital? And he tells me the hospital. And then he said, every year you would put money in an envelope and give it to all the patients. He said, it wasn't a whole lot of money. He said, but it was the point that count. And you would always say, Merry Christmas. He said, and I'll never forget you for what you did, because you made a difference in everyone. You did more than even some of the staff, and you're a patient just like everybody else. So when you see somebody out there begging for nickels, dimes, quarters, and stuff, don't be so quick to say they're going to use it for drugs or drinking. That's not your business. If you feel compelled, give them something, $1, a quarter. It makes a difference. It really does. Because if you was homeless, you would want somebody to give something to you.
That's right.
Thank you.
Let's clap him up. That's right. Sage, bring us home.
How y'all doing? So shout out to Sister, remind me of her name, Phoenix, Arizona.
Lorianne.
Lorianne, shout out to Sister Lorianne. She actually inspired me to come up and announce that, so I used to go to school down south, but I feel like I just threw myself down in the dirty, dirty bayou, and it wasn't, I was too far away from home, and especially too far away from my mom, and my mom is like a big part of guidance in my life, so I came back to, kind of reground myself, and I'm actually going back to school this spring. I got accepted into SUNY Westchester, so that's my good news. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's great. Come on, you and Lorianne. Look at the joy. That's great news. Right now. Let's go. Okay, so let me share my announcements real fast. That was lit. He threw me off. I didn't expect that. It's great news. All right. So for those who were here this past Saturday at the Saturday Action Rally, Christopher Neely joined Nan and 2 other members, so that was good news. Christopher Neely is the uncle of Jordan Neely. We're going to talk about that in much detail today because we got horrible, disgusting news today, in my opinion. Brother Daniel, Damien will be talking about that. And there were some leaders in the room today when that horrible verdict was announced. But I'll let them speak for themselves. But I just want to say salute to you. It's not necessarily good news, but going down to the court, and I didn't go every day, but I went every, 2 or 3 times a week. But every time I went, a NAM member was there, not a NAM staffer, a NAM member was there. It made me, and I grew up in NAM, grew up in the movement, been in many courts, was there for Garner, but this was the first time that it was just us. This was our case, this was our fight. Rev wasn't necessarily there directing and telling us. Uncle Mike wasn't there. No national director was there. It was us. And to look around, and sometimes some parts of the fight, those who were there, Megan, I know you were there a lot. Sister J was there every day. Sister J, you don't have to clap. You don't. It's not for. I'm not here to. It's not for your applause. When I walked in that room, Sister J is a little short woman that sits on the second row of the rally every Saturday, and she sings high. She usually sings. You hear her when we're singing. She always has an opinion, but every time I walked in that courtroom, or if I was not there, there was a text with a report. I don't know if she works. I don't know what she does. But I know she gave up her time every day to get there to that courtroom and make sure the Neely family knew she was present. And she also made sure the National Network was represented. That is what NAN is about. It was so many people, and I know some of y'all names, some I don't. But to look up and see y'all there for the cause, for what we believe in, made me believe in us a little more. It made me believe that this wasn't just for Rev. It wasn't just a fan club. It wasn't just smoke and mirrors. Y'all believe in this fight, and y'all believe in what we were doing down there and why we were down there. So I just want to salute you all for being true activists and being true advocates and believing in showing action to your words and not just talking, but walking that walk. Salute to you, sister. Stand up, Sandra. Salute to you, Megan, Ernest Waters, Ocean, Chaplain Jade, Jonka, Patrice, Damien. Dan, was you there? No, okay. Inola. Sister, what's your name? Crystal was there literally every time I came, you were there as well. I think you were there every day as well. So I just want to say salute to you all. In and out of, salute to Brother Ron, salute to those who came from the DEI, Sister Word. Salute to Kazembe Bats, who came from Brooklyn and brought the new Black Panther Party. Salute to Hawk Newsom and Black Lives Matter Greater New York for being there. Salute to Melly. Salute, we all, like Rev said the other day, we all have our different way. We don't agree on everything. Lord knows we don't agree on everything or how to do everything. But we agree that justice and accountability was needed for Jordan Neely, and we put together our differences and came together down there. So thank you for that. This fight is not over. It's not over. A man was lynched in New York City, and his name was Jordan Neely, and they got away with it. This is not over, but we will continue to have that conversation. When we get to that, did you know? And I will calm down. The announcements that I have for going forward, the 16th, we will have a special panel. I'm excited to, I'm not going to share in detail. I'm going to wait till he announces it. But we have a special panel next Monday, so I urge you all to come. It's an interesting topic. The 23rd, we will have an informal huddle. It won't be set up like this. That is the week of Christmas. Yes, I know everybody does not celebrate Christmas, but we at the National Action Network do. And we will have toys and everything. Usually they have to set up on Tuesday, the day before. We're going to do it that night, Monday night. So they will be informal. If you want to come help, you can help. But we'll be here setting up the toys, the House of Justice staff, so we don't have to come during the day and do all that. We'll set up the toys. If you want to volunteer, if you don't, you can stay home. Live will not be on, so we won't need live stream. There will be food. But we want you to come. Also, we're going to do a special thing for some of the young people. They gave us some feedback. Some of them wanted their gifts wrapped because they wanted to be surprised. So we're going to have, on that Monday for the 23rd, we're going to have a table over there wrapping some gifts up for the young people. So if you know how to wrap well, we ask you to come. Everything will be here, but just to do that. So that'll be an interactive huddle for the holiday season on the 23rd, okay? 16th special panel, 23rd will be the holiday one. And then the last Monday of the month is the 30th. That's when we will have the special talent showcase. That's when we'll have the big party to end the end of the year. If you want to sign up, you can sign up starting Saturday. The sign-up sheet will be in the front. I'm going to send it to Treese. But you can start signing up Saturday, and it starts as young as 6 years old. If they have talent, there is monetary gifts. There's 3 prizes, and it goes all the way up to the top. You will be separated. If you're 80, you will not be in the competition with an 8-year-old. No offense, all right? But all are welcome to come and sign up and to join us and be a part of Huddle for the next 3 weeks. And then we'll be going forward for 2025 with our agenda. And I'm excited when Christian comes back to share that National Youth and College agenda and theme with you all. We are ready. We're ready, set, and ready to go. All right? Now we will start our Did You Know articles. Artivism is not ready yet, right? No? Okay. All right. We will start our Did You Know articles. We will start with myself. Sorry. Let's clap me up. Thank you. All right. So this is about, actually, interesting. Sorry. I'm reading it from my phone. All right, this is about y'all's next president. Okay, so President-elect Donald Trump has reiterated his plan to end birthright citizenship. Does anybody know what birthright citizenship is? What? That's right, thank you. It's a constitutional provision granting citizenship to anyone born on U.S. soil, as stated in the 14th Amendment. He claimed on NBC's Meet the Press that he would try to end it through executive action on day one of his second term. However, legal experts widely agree that such a move will face significant challenges, as changing birthright citizenship requires a constitutional amendment, not a unilateral executive order. The 14th Amendment clearly grants citizenship to all born in the United States, with limited exceptions like the children of foreign diplomats. Some legal theorists argue the amendment excludes children of undocumented immigrants, but this interpretation has been dismissed by most experts as a fringe and unlikely to succeed in court, even with the conservative-leaning Supreme Court. Trump has also proposed making citizenship dependent on having at least one parent who is a citizen or legal resident, a move that could create millions of undocumented, individuals in the U.S. by 2050. Critics, including legal scholars and members of both parties, argue this would increase bureaucratic hurdles for families, complicate legal processes, and potentially harm the economy. Trump's plan is part of his broader immigration agenda, which includes mass deportations and limits on family-based visas. While he supports protections for DACA recipients, his hardline policies are expected to spark legal and political battles. Why I felt this was important to share was because this is another thing that he's promising. Ludicrous, something off the charts, right? But as you break it down, can he really do that? A lot of things that he is saying out of his mouth are dog whistles. He is catering to those who voted for him and saying things that he thinks they want to hear, promising things, saying things about his cabinet, like Matt Gaetz was going to speak on the cabinet, and that is now out the window. That he's sort of delusional. What I'm saying is this: I don't want us to panic as such. I want us to be concerned. Yes, there is concern. Project 2025 is very real, but a lot of things that he's saying is not. I don't think he understands his own power, even though he was the president. I really don't think that he understands how it works, considering he took documents he didn't know he was supposed to, he said he didn't know he was supposed to. I'm not even going to go there. He doesn't really understand his position, which is why we need to understand we actually have an advantage. He is not necessarily what we're fighting. We're fighting those who are propping him up. They are smart, and they are prepared, and they are well-funded. So we need to unite, not necessarily focus on Trump, focus on his agenda, but not necessarily on what he is saying. The media constantly has us just watching and listening and responding to Trump and responding to nonsense, responding to even the black people who said that his black representatives who said they didn't get any cabinet positions. Who cares? They are not our leaders, so who cares? We need to focus on our agenda and what we care about. I am interested, and I probably will get in trouble for that, but a lot of people say that nobody should meet with Trump because it would be a photo op. That's true, but we need to know who's going to be on his cabinet because we need to be meeting with somebody to make sure our agenda is not just thrown to the side. We do live in this country. I don't plan on moving back to Africa anytime soon. So, you get mad at me if you want to. I'm not going back. So, I'm not going back there either. So, I'm saying we need to figure this out. Figure this out in real life, in real division. Don't just go for the okie doke. Don't just listen to Fox News. Don't just listen to NBC. Don't just listen to the news. We must focus on our agenda and what is relevant here. What happened, I'm gonna go to the next person soon, but what happened here in New York City, a lot of people are saying it's local. It's not national. It's very national. How many people, Megan, you send articles all the time. People were talking about the founder of Project 2025 tweeted that Daniel Penny was a hero. A hero. People that have nothing to do with the case are using it for political gains and for their political agendas. So understand where we are in this country and everything that matters. Trump is a distraction. I will continue to say that. He cannot do half of the things that he's saying out his mouth, and I just want you guys to know that and be aware. Understood? Anybody have a question, comment, or statement? Come on, brother. Let's clap you up. I think this is the first time you speaking at Huddle. And welcome.
Tell you how long I've been waiting. That's between me and God. Okay. Hello, people. My name is Melvin Cabbage Stalk. That's how it sounds. That's how it's spelled. The vegetable cabbage and the tree stalk. I am Blackfoot Indian. Everybody with that last name is family. And my brother, who's running for mayor in South Carolina right now, has been in this building with Al Sharpton before. Damon, cabbage stalk. Everybody with that last name is family. The Blackfoot Indian. I'm a veteran, United States Army, and I'm also a product of my environment that tried not to be that. And I see the barriers that are present for us. I've been through the gutter. I've been on crack. I've been an alcoholic in Europe, but I didn't give up. Just to let you know, can be done. Anybody who's having those problems, all you gotta do is ask him to do it for you. Now, with that saying, we're so busy, you're right. Donald Trump is a distraction. And so many other things that they got our minds studying. But we should be studying our agenda is the truth. But I want you all to know, the reason we're this way is because we've been told lies for so long. I've been reading that Bible since I was 13. I have many family members, churches, clergy, they want me to preach with them. That is not my job. That's their job. Steve Harvey said, all of us on earth has a gift. We just have to find it within us. We need to concentrate on something more important. Our children. And I need to tell you why I said that. Because I got a plan. The problem is, we never had a plan. And the man that always comes to help always dies, and most of the time by his own. So if you see me, protect me. Don't let nobody hurt me. I got a plan.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for joining us. Hope to learn. Thank you, Doc. Come on, sis. I'm sorry. It's okay. You don't know the questions, so you can go sit down. Because you don't know what he's talking about. It's okay. Jaka, do you have something relevant to what we was talking about? No. You sure? Do you? Because we have two more Did You Know. So if you don't have nothing to say according to what we were just talking about with Donald Trump and the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship, right? So it's Donald Trump, birthright citizenship. Okay, go ahead.
I've always said we never was equal to them people. We're never equal to them. And they never, even with my family being in military, being under the law of the cops, because my mother was a wife, she married a cop. And he was in the Veterans War. And I've always said that even when I became age to vote, we never are equal to them. They never did that. And even with the 14th Amendment that I have read about that evildoer, I'm not worrying about him. I'm right here with Dr. Reverend Al Sharpton, getting the information that we need to have here in our hearts. This is where I stand, right behind him, Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you, Queen. Janka.
I'm going to be very brief. To your statement, I want to bring forth that sometimes politicians, they say something very, very strict because there's a lot of problems. So I think anybody born in America should have that birthright because that is the amendment. But the world has been really, it's very, very scary right now. And I want to bring this to everybody that they're condensing our research because what's important, children need to find multi-sources like a bibliography. When somebody researches on a person, place, or event, they usually have multiple research bibliography. Now they want to condense it into one with the AI, and we are losing our power. Secondly, the courtroom, the magistrate used to stand up, that's our throne. The fact that that's not done anymore is very serious, and in New York, which is the first capital and the first Pentagon, we have got to get back our city court payrolls because it jumped right to the state.
Thank you. No, you can clap them up. Thank you. All right. Just beware of misinformation and disinformation, okay? All right, next is Patrice with her article on teen violence. Let's clap her up.
Thank you. So, migrant teen killed, another injured after being asked if they spoke English. Did you guys hear about that? Good, that's why we do Did You Knows. I love it. Officials say 2 migrant teens were victims in a New York City stabbing, one fatally, after the teens were asked if they spoke English and they responded that they didn't. Officials say a trio of men approached 2 teens around 7:40 on Thursday night. When one of the men asked if the teens spoke English, the teen said they didn't, and then they were attacked, according to police. Police said they were responding to a 911 call for an assault in Lower Manhattan when they found a 17-year-old male with a stab wound to his chest and an 18-year-old male with a stab wound to his left arm. Emergency medical services responded and transported both teens to NYC Health and hospitals at the Bellevue location. The 17-year-old male, now identified by officials as Jeremy Colino, succumbed to his injuries, and the 18-year-old male is in stable condition. The surviving victim believed he was stabbed with a screwdriver, police said. A knife was recovered at the scene, according to police, who said they will test it for forensics. The 3 suspects fled the stabbing on foot. They are described as being in their 20s with dark complexions. One was wearing a green jacket, white pants, and white sneakers. Second was wearing red pants, a red hooded sweatshirt with a black jacket, also had a black backpack. The third was wearing red sweatpants, red hooded sweatshirt, black jacket, blue and white sneakers. There are no arrests at this time, and the investigation remains ongoing, according to the police. Now, why we wanted to touch on this is because the mayor of the city, Mayor Adams, has more recently said that crime is down, right? Y'all heard that? Y'all heard him say that? So I don't know what part of crime is down when every other day we're hearing nothing but teen violence. So let me just bring you back a little bit. Fatu Keita, the 7-year-old that was shot up the block, they were shot by teenagers, right? It's another shooting in the Bronx. Teenagers shot them again. This one here is a stabbing, but it's still teen violence. So I need a few people just to come up and let me know. And you know, you think about it, it says migrant teen, right? So the orange man said that as soon as he gets in office in 2025, that's his first thing to get migrants out the country. Now, if you imagine, could you imagine if this continues to spread throughout this nation? What can we do to make sure that teens are safe, period, and that all of this teen violence is stopping? Yes, Mayor Adams has said crime is down, but it's not down for our teenagers. We're losing them rapidly. Come up and give us some of your thoughts, what we could do nationally across the board to help stop teen violence.
Good evening.
Good evening. Speaking to the mic for me.
First of all, I would like to know who is the person that heard this so-called black child ask whether he was English? Did he speak English?
Did he speak English?
Right. Because when the police talk, you don't know whether to trust them or not. So they the only people that can get away with crime. So for them to say that a black child said that somebody asked this kid, do you speak English? And then he say nada, and then they stab him with a screwdriver, and they found a knife this long. They ain't found a screwdriver, they found a knife.
And a screwdriver.
So
They're testing
I
the
don't believe
screwdriver.
what they say. Because of the, but I'll leave it there. I don't believe the police.
Okay. Come up and tell us your thoughts about teen violence and how can we stop it.
So teen violence is because we have an American Ad Council. And I'm not sure, I think the headquarters was in Connecticut, I'm not sure. But we have to get them again because when they made TV for free, we started to get taken over. And the TV is too violent. It is too violent because originally TV was teaching. Remember the old movies? It used to be good. It was moral. You didn't see a lot of graphic murders or hospitals where you see the body guts and all this and a lot of immorality, sexual immorality, because the TV is projecting larger than life. And it was supposed to be a model for goodness and well-being. It's too violent. Children see all the shooting like nothing. Cop shows, everything, the shooting, plus the props, the uniforms, some of them FBI, they putting up, some people put on uniforms, that's how wars start, and it happened. And I had a cop steal my house when I called 911, and I never went home and had a trial.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I didn't have a mortgage.
Please come up and tell us your thoughts about the teen violence and what can we do to stop it.
Okay, I'm a piggyback a little bit off of what Jonka said. I'm gonna go to the music though, because what's happening right now, I don't know. It kind of reminds me. So I don't know how many of you are over like 30. Okay, so y'all know back in the days we had Public Enemy, we had Leaders of the New School, we had a lot of positive hip hop artists. Somewhere in the 90s it switched. And it became gangster rap. And that's when you saw NWA and all of this stuff. More recently, and I will say within the last 10 years, the first drill artist I ever heard was Chief Keef, right? These record labels have somehow found a way to profit off of one gang shooting against the other. They get on the music, they write a song about shooting each other. Some of them dry snitch on themselves, which is why a lot of them get locked up. I think, what's his name? Bobby Shmurda, he rapped something, just caught a body about a week ago, and then the whole crew got locked up because guess what? The FBI is listening. So right now what I'm seeing in hip hop, I don't even call it hip hop anymore. This is rap because there's a difference. Hip hop was a culture. Rap is just what people do to make money. They don't even care what they say. When hip-hop started, we had a cause. We were frustrated. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It was a form of survival, like we're just voicing so that we can survive. Right now, these record labels have contracts out on every artist they sign. So if the artist gets killed, not only do they collect on the life insurance money, they also collect on the masters because none of these artists own their music. You understand? So what's happening right now, the Bronx, it was just a shootout on my block 3 days ago. There's bullets still in the window on 142nd and 8th Avenue, you know, and not too long, and yeah, she was on 145th and Starbucks. And she was riding a scooter with her dad, and two kids, a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old, shot at someone else, and she got hit. So what I'm noticing is that I remember hearing, I don't like saying names, and I'll just say, listen, just because I say something don't mean Nan supported or Rev supports it. It's a place for a voice. I remember Liar Cohen saying, I got to feed my family. But at the same time, they're promoting all of this drill music where it's op against op. Like, these kids were in the store and the op rolled by. They didn't care that it was other people there. They just shot the store up. And I find that problematic because somebody's getting paid behind this. These record labels are making a lot of money. And I think we as a people need to address this because the jail cells are filling up. And then with the new bail reform, they commit a crime, they get right back out. Go commit another crime, get right back out. And it's like the jails are overrun by the gangs. And I remember hearing these two young brothers on the bus like, yo, son, if you go here, just get the cell block thing because we the Bloods and we got it on lock. And I'm like, you got the prison locked down? That's how miseducated they are. You understand? So I blame a lot of it on the music, but then again, you know, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think that was purposefully done. Because how do we go from consciousness in hip hop to rap where everybody killing, taking drugs, having babies? Like one dude got 15 babies by 15 different women. Bro, what are you doing? Are you a farmer planting seeds? Like, come on. Like, and we have been dumbed down. And it's happened in the music, like Jonka said, in the TV. Like, I remember when I was younger, they used to be rated G. My mama only let me saw rated PG stuff. It was so frustrating. I was like blind till I got older. Like, oh my God. I saw G, PG, then it was PG-13, then it was R, and then it was X. Everything right now is X. Everything is X-rated. So I think we need to bring, not censorship back, but just caution. So record labels, we got to start with them because they're the ones doing the most damage right now. They're getting paid off of young black 15, 16, 17-year-olds killing each other. And I think it's ridiculous, and we have to do something about it.
Thank you. Tell us what you think about teen violence and how can we change it?
We, as a citizen here, we have to get to the streets. We have to get on the trains. We have to hit our neighborhoods. We have to, because it's been like that for years. Because I remember a couple years ago where I lived when the children had on white tees. I think we just came from Washington, and it was in the summertime. And all these teens had white T-shirts on, and when they got up to where I lived, they were fighting over territory. You're not going to sell drugs here? I am. Weed, talking about weed. And it was maybe about 10, 11 o'clock, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. We were still out because it was warm. And it was a young man, had a gun in the crowd. He shot his cousin. He didn't know he shot 2 people. He didn't know he shot his cousin because everybody was running and scattering. And we had a walk with Jacoby Hospital. They had a walk through our neighborhood about from Jacoby all the way up to 241st. We gotta get to the streets. We gotta put our boots on, and we gotta hit the streets.
Thank you. Come up and share your thoughts about teen violence and how can we change it.
I got a couple of things. I'll be as quick as possible. First is, I was 14 years old when I first found out about teenage violence. I'm playing basketball in Claremont Park in the Bronx, and this guy took the basketball from some younger kid, and the kid came back angry with a gun and started shooting at him. And the guy, his name was Victor, he used me as a shield. And I'm like, after about 5 or 6 shots, he missed both of us. I realized, what, mother? And I went that way. All right, so that's my first experience. But what I realized is that schools don't know how to teach kids really. What they do is they say, we got this structure, you need to pay attention to it. But what they don't know, I've yet to hear, is that there's at least 12 different brain structures that people think. When information hits your brain, your brain most likely is going to operate differently than somebody else's. For example, somebody might be looking at how to get from here to there, project management, where somebody else is listening to, following the intuition in their brain. Or somebody else is like, I got to protect myself, so what's the, like whatever. So there's like a bunch of different things. And I'm actually almost finished writing a new book called The Joy of Learning for this exact same reason. So we need to understand how to train people, how to educate youngsters, because they get upset when their parents or their friends don't listen to them, and they say, but I don't think that way. But you should, because if it works for me, if it works for me, it can work for you. Wrong. That's that. Another thing is that youngsters, particularly men, males, we need to go through the hero's journey. The hero's journey is what the Jews do with the, what do you call it, the bat mitzvah, the bar mitzvah, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's a moment where they say, okay, listen, you are no longer a child. You're a grown-up. I know you're a young grown-up, but treat yourself like a grown-up. And they do that in Africa as well. They put them on the journey, hero's journey around it, so they learn, hey, yeah, 13, exactly. So that's another thing that we can do. But the biggest thing we need to do is we really need to understand that we need to take care of the men in a new way, the males, because we are raised that we're not allowed to be emotional beyond 7 years old. And so the only thing we could be is either funny, angry, flirty, or put on a face mask, you can't see me, poker face. And so we need to learn how to teach young men how to manage their emotions. It's possible, but we don't do that. And so then we wonder why we don't have things happening, and they don't understand the difference between winning and success because of it. Winning is I win, everybody else lose. Success is everybody win. And so they don't understand it because they're too busy paying attention to how their brain works, even though they're not even conscious of how their brain works. So we need to be able to do that, because the last thing I'm going to say is I love watching near-death experience videos on YouTube, because in those videos, the people that finally make it up there, they actually have conversations with the people in their family, they have conversations with Spirit, with Jesus Christ, whatever, but nobody's mouth ever moves. They're having mental telepathy issues, conversations, interactions, which is like so heartwarming, but they come back and they're a new human being. They can't go back to being the old way no more. So I say that because we need to learn how to understand how everybody else thinks. We need to be able to see through people, because the only people that are really working on that really is con artists. They know how to get you to give you what they want. So
Thank you.
If we have figured that out, we'll be, our youngsters will be in great shape.
Thank you so much. Come on, Daniel.
I think it's important to mention that we should understand what some of the flaws are with the police department and why people might not be going to their phones to call 911 right away when there's an issue, perhaps because they don't have confidence in the police department. They do not trust the police department. So I think it's important to understand how to allow, in this particular time frame that we're dealing with, which was not particularly measurable, but to allow for some time measurements and measurements of success on identifying that which I just said, and also emphasizing the importance of safety protocol and emergency safety protocol for teens. Teens who may be more vulnerable than others can particularly be targeted with these types of percentage rates that we'd see that we'd be discussing if we were given numbers for tonight's example that I'm responding to, where we're debating whether or not, I don't know if it's that the sources are viable or that the statistics are accurate regarding teen violence plummeting. Yeah, it's important to realize that statistics can show patterns. So for those whom are responsible for things like the United States Census or other things that have a large influence in statistics and geographics, finding patterns and trends and solutions to high teen violence rates. So that way these teens are protected, these teens know how to protect their peers, these teens know how to teach how to be safe but not violent. These teens know how to, in an emergency situation, call for the authorities and be protected and not be victimized, because a lot of the times the police department are responsible for oversaturating communities and over policing communities, which could be a part of the problem. So in addition to that, providing safe space for these teens, I think is going to be vital to continue to provide safe space, but continue to provide safe spaces that have measured the success of some of the programs in the past and have made improvements. It's important to understand what quality improvement is and to provide resources for teens to be able to access, so that way they'll be able to redirect some of their energies and attention to things that might have left them more vulnerable towards things that are going to be more productive in society.
Thank you so much. And come on, Kathy, wrap up our last comment.
Hi. I
Hello.
just wanted to say, at first I didn't know what I was going to say, but then I realized that we as parents, I'm not a parent, but as I consider myself a parent because I have a lot of nieces and nephews, but as adults that have children under our care for however long it is, we have to speak to them, listen to them, and also set parameters for their behavior. They can't be on their Game Boy, not Game Boy, I'm sorry, dated myself just then, or their, whatever it's called now. When I thought about it, and I was like, we did trim a tree in my building yesterday, and last year a little boy in our building came down to help us. Yesterday, we were asking for him because he was very helpful, and his caretaker kept saying, well, he's upstairs doing Fortnite, and he didn't want to come down. He's 9 years old. So we kept on asking for him, and that's all she kept saying. And it was in the afternoon, on a Sunday, when either he should have had a schedule for that Fortnite, like 1 hour, half an hour, but we were down there for 2 hours. He did not come down, and I presumed that he was on that Fortnite before she came downstairs. So we have to make sure that our children they have to enjoy themselves, yes, but we have to set a schedule for them, and we have to let them know that there are things that we have to talk to them about as adults, as parents, as aunts, as uncles, as neighbors, to get through this society. And I agree with everything that he just said about you, Patrice, first. The teen violence is up. The other violence is down, but the teen violence is up. And if you listen to the news very carefully, there are 1 or 2 stories about that every week about that, and I pay attention to that. Also, as Harlemites, we need to attend our community board meetings. We really do, because then you will know who from your precinct is coming to represent the precinct and represent your neighborhood and tell you what the statistics are. And also, you have the opportunity to ask questions, to give reasonable output as to what's happening in your community. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Come on, Sage, bring us home.
I agree with a lot of the comments that were made by Ms. Jonka, Ms. Lorraine, Mr. Daniel, Mr. Tony, and the young lady who was just speaking. Lastly, let's take our kids to church. Let's instill some God in their life. One thing my mom, she always teach me, God don't like ugly, and people feel like, when you don't have God in your life, you may think that there's no answers or there's no repercussions to what you do. There's no consequences, and if you have God in your life, then all of that, all of the messiness and the things y'all not supposed to be doing, you would already have that internal dialogue because you have a relationship with God.
All right, she said that. Come on, Coco. We're talking about teen violence and how can we stop it? What can we do?
Yeah, I was watching y'all on YouTube when I was on the train. So what I would say is that a lot of men have aggression, and we have no outlets for them. So I think we should have opportunities for them to go to boxing, weightlifting, wrestling. Have them do things where they can get that aggression out, especially if they may not have the words to be able to be in a group setting to talk, because some men may not have the words to express their emotions, but they may be able to get it out through track or, just have those, because a lot of our communities that are disenfranchised don't have community centers. And if they did have community centers, they take the funding away, even if it's in after-school programs. Like, for example, we had a youth program for the summer with summer youth, and all of the teachers were, I'm not saying anything about older adults, but I'm just saying they were seniors that weren't really there to play with the kids. So they basically had the program, but it was for the kids to do things for themselves. So they're not instructing them.
They just there.
They just there, right? So that's not good, because they need people. That's another thing I feel like it will help us with, because they don't know the way. So we can have people that will give them proper instruction, give them outlets, proper outlets, maybe take them on nature walks with track, like get them on the trail where they'll be exercising that energy, going the mountains, up the mountains and stuff, doing things like, I think a thing that a lot of guys seem to like because I'm not a guy, right? So I don't know what they really like. They would have to express it themselves. But some of the guys that I know, they like those obstacle courses. They like being, first of all, they're competitive, and they don't have no problem doing all those things. Like, I never been able to climb myself up the wall. I've never been able to do it. But I see a lot of guys, they do it with no problem. So I think that having obstacle courses for them during the summertime, getting them away for camp, teaching them, letting them do archery and hunting and learning how to make fires, all of that stuff is great for our black boys. And I feel that if we can get that kind of program going, or at least connect them to programs like that, Boy Scouts, with my son, by the time I had my son and I tried to get him in Boy Scouts, it was only women that was the instructors. And my son didn't have no time for no woman instructor. My son is very, he's very male-based. So he'll respond to a male before he responds to a woman. And it doesn't matter. You could be a single mom like myself, and you still can get a guy, a son that wants to respond to only men. It's just the way it is. It's depending on how you do it. I always make sure you went to the barber shop, and I would leave the barber shop, let him be with the barbers by himself. And if you let guys be around guys, they can be macho. And I feel I'm not going to go there. But anyway, I was just saying that how it comes to the men, if we can let them have outlets because they are masculine, I think it's good. Letting them polish their nails and do cross-dressing is not helping them.
Well, that is a way of communicating too. However, we want to respect all people. And I also wanted to piggyback on what Sage said. So, I grew up in Canaan Baptist Church, and we were very disciplined there. We went to church on Sunday, Saturday, church school. No matter what we was doing, we had to go. But it is good to have them in an institution, like a church that is really disciplined. Pastor Dr. Y.T. Walker was my pastor since I was 5. So we really disciplined in Canaan Baptist Church. Like, we knew to come to church and be quiet. We knew to come to church and, do what we needed to do. And if we were practicing for the service or whatever, it was very disciplined. So I think we maybe need to go back to doing discipline for our young people, for our teenagers, to get them to know that, it's important. And parents too, stop just talking to your kids on Instagram. Maybe go into their room and talk to them. Put the phone down for like an hour, 60 minutes. It won't hurt you. So we're going to continue to work on this to keep our young people encouraged, and keep them and let them know. And parents, one last thing, remember, y'all all used to be young people at one point. So don't act like that what they're doing today, y'all didn't do it, because y'all did. So stay encouraged, keep our teens, make sure they can communicate with you. If you have a hard time, we'll get them some therapy, but make sure that there's an outlet for them to talk to you before they go outside and talk to the wrong people and end up doing 25 to life. And that wraps up my Did You Know?
Amen, amen. I will continue. I will echo what y'all said. We also need resources, resources, resources for when the young people are. A lot of y'all mentioned resource centers and community centers. They took a lot of the money out of those, and the money for some of them that's being funded are not being used for the proper reasons. So, yeah, that's definitely that. All right, last one. Last one is Damien. He's going to talk about Jordan Neely. Justice for Jordan Neely. Those who are in the court, if you want to make a statement, I encourage you to make a statement. You can already come and start lining up because we want to hear from you. Again, thank you for being there in and out of season, whether we were there or whether we were not as far as leadership. But thank you so much. We did not have a victory in this, but I will continue to say this is not the end of the war. It's just one battle lost, but we must continue and go forward and continue to stand with his family. When Christopher Neely, like Rev said, we announced we have to get a headstone for Jordan. When we formally do that, there's going to be an effort to stand with Chris and for the community to stand. Please respond. Please join us. Please, and I know he's going to talk about it, but there is a lawsuit. We do not know. We have nothing to do with that lawsuit that Mr. Zachary is doing with the lawyers, so we cannot answer those questions. If you want to ask about that, you can mention whatever you like to mention, but that has nothing to do with us. Please continue to pray for the family. Please understand where New York City is. These times are crazy, and vigilantism now is the standard that's acceptable with civilians. This is important. Pay attention, and let's go.
Thank you, Sister Ashley. And good evening, Huddle. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, before I get into this article, I just want to say I am deeply saddened, I'm deeply hurt, I'm deeply disappointed in the results that we received on today. I'm even more disappointed, I'm even more hurt, and even in more disbelief, because I can recall going back to the shooting of Amadou Diallo, who was shot by 4 police officers. And that was on February 3rd. It was my grandfather's birthday. I'll never forget, I got a phone call from my grandfather and said, a young man has been shot on Wheeler Avenue 41 times, and I think you need to get down there. I said, okay. When I got there, I saw a number of elected officials, from our city council members, to our Congress members, to our community board members, to our senators. I even think Andy Cuomo came down. And what saddened me is that I had not seen one elected official during this trial. Barron is no longer an elected official. Okay. Alvin Bragg. And he's the DA, so he should have been there. Okay, I have a problem with elected officials, some of whom are my friends, who pretends to be my friends, come to our churches, come to our organizations, stand up in our communities and request our votes, but then again turn around and turn a blind eye to issues that pertain to us in our community. Okay? And I'm not trying to call any one individual out, but one person that should have been there should have been a public advocate. And I say that to say because the public advocate's job is to advocate on behalf of the constituents and the people of this city. Our elected officials come to us and we elect them for one, to maintain civility in our neighborhoods, to create laws to better the quality of life for those who live in the different communities in which we live in. And it is a shame before God that none of you all came down to the rallies and or to the courthouse to support the Neely family. This has nothing to do with black and white, although it has a lot to do with black and white. But let's just take away race just for a minute. This is a case where a young man who is an entertainer who this country does not respect the lives of entertainers. Okay? They use entertainers as much as they can use them, and when they're done being entertained by those individuals, they discard them and throw them away as they did Mr. Neely. And it's a sin and a shame before God that these elected officials did not come out and stand on behalf of this community. An individual wants to be mayor. An individual wants to be the governor. But that same individual will come through these doors and stand up here and get up on this stage, but will not hit the streets. I've got a problem with that. The community has a problem with that. So when it comes time to elect individuals, that's why the individual who won the presidency won. Because people are fed up and they're tired and they are dismayed and disappointed and they're hurt by those local elected officials in our neighborhoods that do not stand up on behalf of the people who are standing up for what's right in our communities. They stand up for big business. They stand up for rental property owners. They get big donors' money, but yet they come to us for our votes. We need to hold them all responsible. And like Larry Seabrook used to say down at 1941, we got to call the roll. Call the roll, Larry, call the roll. We need to really have a meeting held by the National Action Network and call everybody in and call the roll. Because we're in a situation now where people are afraid of Trump. But we've got to unite. We can't allow fear to take over our communities. We've got to stand up for now, because if we don't stand up for now, the next 50 years are at stake. The next 100 years are at stake. They are trying to take us back to where we once were. We fought too hard. We've come too far with the faith to get where we are, to allow our black elected officials and our Hispanic elected officials to allow them to do what they're getting away with in our neighborhoods. We and I should not be going through what we are going through with these individuals who hold office. So I'm not going to go too much off on a tangent, as I can do, and I sometimes do in the privacy of my own home. I go off in the privacy of my own home. You know, you might see me chanting and screaming outside, no justice, no peace, but that's all you'll see me doing in the street. What I do in the privacy of my home is what I do in the privacy of my home. I respect other space. I respect the streets. I respect the community. And that's something we all should do. So to the article. Daniel Penny not guilty in New York City subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely. And first, I just want to commend Hawk as well for not being provoked. Because today down at the courthouse, which is the first time, because I've been getting reports. I may have not have been down there every day, but we get reports on what's taking place in that courtroom and what's going on outside. And today is the first time that there ever been almost acts of violence. Okay? 6 weeks. Black Lives Matter been down there. 6 weeks, the National Action Network been down there. 6 weeks, many other multi-ethnic groups have been down there. And today was the first time there almost were acts of violence. They were provocateurs sent, and I just want to commend the Black Lives Matter movement for not retaliating to the bullshit. Excuse me. I apologize. That'll be the last time I do that. I apologize. I apologize. I apologize. But it was BS. Daniel Penny was found not guilty on criminally negligent homicide Monday in the chokehold killing of Jordan Neely on a Manhattan F train, bringing closure in the polarizing case that provoked heated debates about vigilantism, mental illness, and subway safety. The verdict, which was announced in Manhattan Supreme Court just before 11:30 a.m., came after Justice Maxwell Wiley on Friday dismissed the top charge of manslaughter at prosecutors' request after jurors twice said they couldn't agree on it, that allowed that the panel consider the lesser charge carrying a maximum of 4 years in prison instead of 15. That has to be dealt with too. But we got to deal with this judicial system because it's a game that's being played. It's not about the cases as much as it's about the lawyers and the attorneys playing a game of chess. They lose sight of what the issue is and they begin to play chess. And we are the pawns. That allowed the panel to consider the lesser charge carrying a maximum of 4 years in prison instead of 15. After the verdict, court officials escorted Penny's legal team and the jury away from the facility as protesters calling for Penny's conviction were heard from the 13th floor courtroom shouting, "No justice, no peace." In a phone call with the Daily News, Penny's lawyer, Thomas Kenneth, said his client was elated and celebrating at a bar with his legal team. No remorse, no sympathy, no apology. He's celebrating. Right now, as we speak. Came out of the courthouse last week with a smile on his face. Came out of the courthouse today with a smile on his face. Heartless, callous, inhumane. Justice has finally been served, and Danny has gotten the acquittal that he knew was coming the last 18 months, Kenneth said. So he knew that he was going to be acquitted. How was that? Adding Penny was elated to finally not be living under the weight of false accusations and having his honor diminished by his misguided indictment. Now, like I said, I ride the train. I deal with crazy people every day, walking up and down the street in my own neighborhood. Some of my neighbors are off their rocker. You understand where I'm coming from? There are people on the trains and on the subways out of their mind. And so, yeah, sometimes it is fearful to walk down the street. Yeah, it is sometimes fearful to get on public transportation. And sometimes you might wish that somebody would intercede in certain situations. And so even if Daniel said he interceded on behalf of the ridership, okay, I'll give him that. I'll give him that. But what he did was kill a man. Daniel Penny is a former military officer. He was trained in combat in the Marines. He should have had the withal to be able to subdue him if he's saying he was trying to work on, and I don't even know if he was saying he was trying to work on Jordan's behalf. But the bottom line is he should have been able to subdue him without killing him. 6 minutes is a long time. You didn't need 6 minutes to subdue that man. And then I heard that he was held down. Come on. Come on. Come on. He is not a police officer. So why did he take it upon himself to kill a man? He was outright wrong. Oh, they say, oh, this was his first offense. All right, well, his first offense, he got away with murder. So now in his mind, he could go ahead and do it again. Because he wasn't acting on behalf of the ridership. He was acting to get a trophy. I gave Daniel Penny the benefit of doubt. I did. I didn't say National Action did. I did. I tried to think rationally. I tried to think on what's going on both sides of the fence, how it affected his family, how it affected his family. How did it affect the individuals who committed the crime? How did it affect the individual who lost his life? We got to be fair, equal, and balanced. We are a country that believes in equality. And equality is something that we all must stand for. That's something we all must fight for. And that's something that every elected official that comes walking through this door or any church that I attend, including my own church, should be fighting for. So if you ain't going to fight for that, don't come asking for our vote. Don't come asking us to carry your petitions as I have for the last 25 years. Don't come asking us to register people to vote for you who are turning your backs on our community. Don't come asking us to go help the senior citizens to take them to the polls. Don't come asking me or anybody else to go to their homes to help them fill out absentee ballots to vote for y'all who are turning your backs on our community. These are the words of Zachary, the father of Jordan Neely. I just want to say, I miss my son. Jordan did not deserve to die. All right? Penny's family might say, well, I would have missed my son. But you know what? If he went to jail, you would have been able to go to jail and visit him. The only place we can go visit Jordan now is at the gravesite. That is unacceptable, it's unfair, and we deserve equality. Zachary said in some of his only comments during the trial, "It hurts. It hurts. It really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people? What's going to happen to us now?" The jury of 7 women and 5 men, all of the Caucasian persuasion, were more than 40 witnesses during the trial. They got the case on Tuesday and made several requests during deliberations asking to review testimony from the city medical examiner's office who ruled Neely's death a homicide. Footage of the encounter and its aftermath and various legal definitions. The prosecution portrayed Penny as someone who may have initially acted with good intent. When Neely got on the F train, he was riding, acting menacingly. I know people right now who NYPD knows who are menaces, harasses our communities, stalks our communities, and does nothing about it. On record, you call the police about these individuals, and they do absolutely nothing about it. But yet, you want to do something to Jordan Neely. Come on, something ain't right, people. Help me, somebody. But they argued he crossed the line into criminality by holding on to Neely for far too long after passengers fled to safety until he choked the life out of him. 6 minutes. Penny's defense painted him as a good Samaritan, being punished for trying to help his fellow New Yorkers. He took a life. He helped no one. And afraid, Neely did not have a weapon. He was unarmed. Here, this man is a master in combat. His arms, his hands, his fingers can be deemed a lethal weapon, in which they were. And he used them as a lethal weapon on the day of the death of Jordan Neely. They sought to convince jurors that the chokehold didn't kill Neely, but rather his poor mental, physical health, and history of drug use. BS. To find Penny guilty of manslaughter, which jurors couldn't find unanimously, agree on Friday, the panel had to find he unjustifiably created a grave risk to Neely's life that he consciously disregarded when he subdued him on the train. To find him guilty of criminally negligent homicide, they were required to find he created an unjustifiable grave risk that he failed to perceive. He chokehold him. I thought chokeholding was against the law going back to Anthony Baez. We're not talking about Anthony Baez. Anthony Baez was a young Hispanic man who died in the hands of police officers using a chokehold. I thought that was outlawed way back when. Why the officers got off on Eric Gardner, I don't know. Because we went through that with Anthony Baez. I strongly believe, as one stating probably from day one, we have a mental health system that is broken, says Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City. When you have someone repeatedly going through that system, that's a signature of failure, Adams said. The case garnered national attention after footage of the chokehold incident went viral. In the early days of presidential primary campaign season, Penny became a right-wing cause to celebrate, pulling in millions of dollars towards his legal defense and words of support from the GOP. Candidates like Trump, Vivek I can't pronounce his name, Ramaswamy, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, they hailed him as a hero who took action to protect passengers at a time when many subway riders were on edge following a spat, horrific acts of violence on the train. That's all lies. Lies. They nearly 2-week delay between Neely's death and Penny's arrest saw civil rights protesters take New York City streets and subway tracks to protest the unaccounted for killing of a poor and vulnerable black man in crisis. Nearly was in crisis. Nearly was in crisis. The case drew instant comparison to the 1984 shootings by Bernard Getz. Well, they got him down there as Bernie, trying to soften him up again. Like Daniel, they call him Danny. But yet they call us troublemakers, provocateurs. That's what they call us, but we are not any of those. A white engineer who gunned down 4 black teens on the train, who said he believed planned to rob him, paralyzing one. Our great Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy at Neely's funeral, telling mourners, a boy on a train is screaming for help, and somebody comes up from behind and claims self-defense? From behind? Self-defense? That reminds me of a car accident I was in years ago. Got hit from the back, but yet we caused the accident. How does that happen? Sharpton, who heads the National Action Network, issued a statement Monday condemning the verdict. Jordan Neely's life was brutally taken away because of unnecessary vigilantism, Reverend Sharpton said. This kind of behavior was inexcusable 40 years ago with Bernard Getz opened fire in a subway car, and it remained the case more than a year ago when Daniel Penny took Jordan's life. Jordan was in the middle of a mental health crisis, but instead of being offered helping hand, he got an arm around his neck. Zachary filed a civil lawsuit against Penny during the deliberations last week. His attorney, Dante Mills, said they would continue to seek accountability and the chokehold in civil court. Eight passengers who testified at the trial said Neely said something to the effect of being hungry, thirsty, and ready to die and go back to jail, alarming them. 3 said he used the words kill or die in reference to himself or others. A young mother who was on the train with her son did not recall Neely descending on them and saying, I will kill. As the defense stated at the start of the trial, nobody testified that Neely was unarmed, put his hands on anyone, or directed his threats at someone specific. All words, just shouting out words. Shouting out words. There are people walking out here that shout out words, throw garbage, physically assault people, got orders of protections against them, but yet they're still free to walk up and down our neighborhoods and terrorize our neighborhoods. Why is that, NYPD? Penny quickly intervened, wrapping his arms around Neely's neck and taking him down to the floor from behind, according to his defense and witnesses' testimony. Within around 30 seconds, the train reached the next stop, Broadway Lafayette, where the 2 men remained in a struggle on the floor, and the passengers fled to the platform. Prosecutors argue Penny's actions became criminal at the point when he continued to subdue Neely in a chokehold for almost 6 minutes until Neely passed out, never to regain consciousness. 2 men aided Penny, Eric Gonzalez, 39, a room manager at the casino who had been waiting on the platform when the train pulled into the station, and a man from Germany who was on the train and refused to cooperate with either side and returned back to the United States to testify. In a nearly 5-minute video shot by independent journalist Juan Alberto Vasquez, which calculated the incident into a national spotlight, Penny is seen with his arms gripped around Neely's neck and his legs wrapped around his body on the stalled train. Jurors watched him multiple times during the trial, examining frame by frame. He tried to not only kill him, but demasculate Jordan Neely. He tried to demasculate Jordan Neely. Neely raised his left arm and Gonzalez held it down. Neely then raises his right arm and taps the leg of a German tourist, appearing to motion for help. The tourist then holds down Neely's right arm. Gonzalez begins holding down both Neely's arms. The tourist now holding his arms and Neely beginning to squirm with greater effort as Penny tightens his grip. So the more he moved to break free, the more grip he got. He said, this N-word ain't going free. In his mind, I believe that's what he was saying. In his testimony, Penny's former martial arts trainer in the Marines, Joseph Caliber said he had appeared to apply the chokehold technique he had been taught incorrectly. So then let's blame and let's sue the Marines for giving him the wrong training if he used the training that he used, that he was taught to use by the Marines. Witness Larry Goodson, 61, is then heard telling the man they should let go. Gonzalez insists Penny is not squeezing no more. You gotta let him go, you gotta let him go. My wife is an ex-military. You're going to kill him now, Goodson says in the video, warning that if Neely defecated on himself, that's it. Within a few seconds, Penny and Gonzalez let up as Neely's body went limp. Police and medics soon arrived, failed to revive Neely, and brought him to Lenox Hill Hospital where he was pronounced dead. On police-worn camera footage, Penny is seen telling officers at the scene he just put him out. He didn't just put him out, he killed him. Later, he was willingly sat for questioning with detectives at the 5th Precinct Station House, and footage jurors also asked to review. Now, we're going to open up the floor for any comments or questions pertaining to today's verdict.
Okay, I was actually there, and I'm honestly very disgusted because of two things. One, there was protesters saying how how Daniel was a hero, and they specifically provoked us to think that we was going to attack them. And then what also bothers me is that some of the officers told us to that we can't use bullhorns because Daniel was feeling threatened upstairs. But yet his supporters was using a bullhorn and saying how he was a hero. So how is that fair when they're shouting he's a hero, but yet we're saying he's a murderer, and they're telling us to shut up? I don't understand that. And then right now he's at a bar celebrating as if that he won something. That is ludicrous. Like that's insane. Like, you're celebrating the death of an innocent person who was just begging for food. He was not begging for drugs. He was not begging for alcohol or anything crazy like that. He was poor. He was hungry. And you come back and choke him, and then you kill him, and then when you get away with it, you celebrate his murder. That is sick. Jordan should be here just like everybody in this room that is sitting here today. But honestly, I'm not surprised. But the system failed Jordan. The system failed us. And honestly, they're not going to hear the last of it, because if we have to, we will keep this alive. We will march in the streets as long as we need to make sure that this is not okay, and for him to not come back and do it again. And that way he won't try to attack us and then say that, oh, I was just doing a community a favor. No, you're not. You're killing people. Sorry, I need to go.
Thank you, Chris.
That one is weak.
No, we acknowledge that, and that's why we believe there's a lawsuit, because he raised $4 million, and some of that money, if not all of that money, should go to the family of Jordan Neely.
Okay, first of all, Damon.
Yes, man.
Ain't nothing else to be said, because you did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you.
You broke it down to the letter.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad, because you know I'm partial to brothers. Okay? So let me say that Damon, when I passed out in the courtroom today, okay, because I looked at my sister Megan, because Megan was sitting over here, I was over here. And when they brought in the verdict, they had cops everywhere in the courthouse and the courtroom, and they had them positioned and all this kind of thing. Yes, I knew something was getting ready to go down. Then they gave the verdict, and Megan started crying. And I looked over at Megan, and but what the Bible say, where 2 or 3 are gathered. So the Spirit hit me, and I started crying. Okay, so we leave out the courthouse, the courtroom, and Damon had to hold me up because my legs gave out. My legs gave out. I've been coming to the trial. This is my 3rd week. Coming there. My name is Crystal, for those that don't know me. I was going because I got a son, I got nephews, I got nieces, I work in my community, and that's what made me get up and go. Now, Jordan died May 2nd, 2023. The autopsy was done either the same day or the next day. The autopsy. Okay, so I'm sitting in the court all them other days. They talking about his spleen. They could tell that the blood was sickling in his spleen from the K2 and all this BS. I'm going to say this and I'm going to shut up. The judge, somebody need to deal with him. Because the judge made a statement Friday, I think it was. The judge told the jurors, oh yeah, y'all are here convening. It's your job to, what's that word when they deliberate? It's your job to deliberate, but I have the final say so. That's what the judge said. The brother right here, I forget, what's his name? Ernie was there, okay? That's what the judge said. Now, when the judge decided to cancel the manslaughter first, let me tell you something. My spirit was telling me the whole time, child, don't even go. But see, don't even go to the trial. But see, when your spirit, when I don't have a great discernment, so I don't know whether the spirit is telling me not to do something or if it's fear or it's me. So I usually do what I want. And guess what? I'm going to say this too. This brother right here held me up today. Okay? Megan is a white girl. We gonna work together. I don't care if you white, black, purple, red, green, what they call that, Puerto Rican, what was that saying that? Puerto Rican or Haitian? Puerto Rican or Haitian. We gonna work together because let me tell you something. Y'all gonna say, Crystal, you's a mess. But I got to tell y'all this. Guess what happened? They banned me from the courtroom. Let me tell you why. This was Friday. Now, when you get to the court, right, they got this so-called sister behind, she's the court cop. Turn your phones off, sit down and shut up. She said it one time to shock the hell out of me. I told her, don't talk to us like that, we not children. It was like a reflex that came up. This was last week. Guess what she said? Oh, I'm sorry. I probably was the first person to ever shut her up. That's number one. Okay. Thursday, you had this chick sitting next to me in the court. She was from Istanbul, Czechoslovakia, some damn where. She's sitting over here, right? So they telling us, we can't have shut your phones off. Make sure you this is what the cops, they beat us down with that. This chick got all kind of devices that she playing with. The cops was even asking her, excuse me, what's that? And she's like, oh, this is just, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Okay. At the end of the trial for that day, the judge go out, the jury, everybody go, we got to sit like this. You can't move, don't breathe, nothing. Then they tell you, okay, it's cool for you to make a move. I go and look at her. Her phone is not only on, but she's using it. Now, one cop told her, what are you doing? But they were chastising the hell out of everybody else in the courtroom. Her phone was on. I looked at her and said, whoa, her phone is on. Now, mind you, when you there in that court enough, like I was, you form a relationship with certain officers. My mother told me I should have been a cop. I'm very creative when I want my way. So you form a relationship with certain officers. I'm cute anyway, so I can get away with doing stuff like that. Okay. So, this is serious. I tell the officer, I said, wait a minute, her phone is on? How did that happen? That was on Friday. I come in today, they say to me, the cop took my glove. He said, give me something to hold your seat when I got there. Then another cop comes to me and says, excuse me, you've been banned from the courtroom. So I said, really? Banned for what? So, so he's like, okay, this is the one that was outside. He never went in the courthouse. He was always outside. So he told me I had to wait 20 minutes. The guy in the white shirt gonna be there and all this kind of stuff here, right? I'm cool as a cucumber. Because I know I didn't do nothing. Okay, finally the one in the white shirt came out. He told me, he said, yeah, but we heard there was a confrontation and this and this and this. And I said, well, you mean with the lady that with the phone thing? He said, yeah. He said, and mind you, she's banned. She can't come back to the court, period. Okay. Within 5 minutes, after me speaking to the guy in the white, I got in that courthouse. Because truth is truth, right is right. How you gonna ban me? It wasn't like I said, yo, what the? It wasn't like I did that. I just pointed at her, asked the cop, what's up? Bottom line is, Damon said it all. He said it all. And what's this thing that they saying? This piece here. If he's dismissed without prejudice, then he can't be retried. These let me tell you something.
But there's a possibility he might be able to be tried federally.
Okay? Brother, lady, I thank you for the time that, you know what I'm saying, because this is not a matter of, oh, the black people are riled up. Right. Oh, God, we better double load up. That's what you should have seen the way they carried on in that courtroom. They disrespected his daddy. You already said it, right? All the cops that was in the courtroom. Because there was the few that was there, but then when they got ready to give the verdict, a whole lot of them came in. And when the verdict came forth, they disrespected his father. They disrespected all of us. Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you straight up like this here. I see what's going on in the communities and stuff like that. And I can go on and on about strategies because I'm like y'all. I may know a lot of information, but to execute, it's like Damon said. Where were the politicians? Not one politician was at that courthouse today for that verdict. There's something freaky about that. There's something freaky about that. And so we got to ask ourselves, we can sit around, at least we got this place to come to vent. There are no other vineyards that I know of. You got BLS with their radio thing, and my man, what's his name, Don Levy and all that, but they don't even want to get into talk and stuff like that. You got over there, whatever they call that organization, all this kind of stuff here. But nobody's doing if everything's business as usual. We got to this cannot continue. Thank you, Damon.
That's right. And real quickly, last week I got put out the courtroom, and I'm going to say this real quickly. My phone was completely dead. No battery. I went to pull my phone out just to look at the time. Court officer came running up to me. Used to thought I had something in my pocket that, like I had a baseball bat or something, like I was going to go up. This man came up. This man jumped on me, and all the other officers came. And then when I got put out the courtroom, some of the other officers came and said, well, what happened? And I explained to them what happened. Don't you know, over 5 or 6 or 7 court officers came out and apologized to me for their colleague being overzealous and acting irrationally. So we both got apologies from the court officers.
Holla.
I'll say I'm just glad I wasn't in the courtroom to hear that, because I'm very emotional. And even one time when, about 3 weeks ago, I had to cry, but I cried outside, and thanks to Reverend Ron for being there. I look at that case, how they talked about our brother Jordan Neely. When I was in family court, oh, she's loud, No, she's not. They didn't say loud. They said I was yelling. They used the word yelling. I may say I'm loud, but they use it as a mental against us, and it hurt me, because they talked about him with his mental illness, and how many people have came to court for me, my doctors, with the family court, and they end up giving the abuser my children. I worked as a home care worker from infants to elderly. But they decided to twist it around and give him them. But it made me feel like me, that they were talking about me. Oh, she's loud, she's screaming. Don't you see how she is? When my family came and they still didn't care. My cousin had one of my daughters raising her, and I'm coming to your house to visit my child, and you go back to the demons and tell them, oh, she was knocking on my door, not knocking on the door.
We got to move on.
They said I was
I
banging
apologize
on
for
the door.
interrupting you,
But
but we got to move on.
I look at it as they talked about
We've
me.
got one more person to
When
speak.
they talked about Neely, they talked about me.
Disrespect. I apologize. Thank you. I feel you.
They talked about me.
I feel you. Thank you, Megan.
Hi, I'll try to be quick. So I'm here tonight as much to support Huddle as also because I just needed to come. I moved some of the work that I was supposed to do tonight so that I could come because it was devastating today to hear not guilty. It was very reminiscent of my whole life fighting against white supremacy and white privilege since I was a kid, within my family, in gym class, at my friend's house, at the playground. And this whole trial, this whole year, when they didn't arrest Daniel Penny in the first place, when they let him go out of the subway without even apprehending him, this entire time it's been about white supremacy and white privilege. There is no way around it. It has been there since the very, very beginning. And if you were to reverse the roles, everyone can see that if that was a black man coming behind a white man, taking his neck and then holding him down, and then when all of the subway passengers left the train, he continued to hold the white man down, and then after 6 minutes, that black man, after holding the white man down with the help of two men who never got prosecuted, who never got charges brought against them, one, because he originally lied to the police, and then when they realized he lied, he then started working with the state to help bring charges to Daniel Penny. So he's protected. And then the other man that held him down was a German tourist who left the country, went back to Germany, and neither side could get him back. So we have essentially a repeat of George Floyd, where we had a team of people holding a man down, lynching him in public. Only in this time, we didn't have a team being held accountable. It was only one man being held accountable, and he was a white man, and he was supported by millions and millions of dollars donated to help him get free, which is what happened. No justice happened in this case. So I just want to share with you a few notes that I took that I found to be very, very interesting while sitting in that courtroom, some of which I've shared, but I'll repeat, some of which I haven't. And I brought some chocolate chip cookies tonight because I am not okay today, and I figured chocolate chip cookies could, help some people as well. So I feel like we're back in the 60s, where we're just seeing black people lynched and white people are okay with it. And I'm really afraid going into the next 4 years with Trump, with his mindset and MAGA's mindset, that this is going to be a regular occurrence with Nan supporting court cases and trying to get justice for people that are just being told over and over again in the courtroom that it's okay to hear the defense point out all of the imperfect things about a black man while putting up on a pedestal a white man and then softening his image by consistently referring to him as Danny, which I came here and reported a couple weeks ago. But I firmly believe that if Daniel Penny's lawyers had referred to him as Daniel the entire time, I do not think we would have an acquittal at all. His lawyers, every single time they referred to him, every single time, they said Danny. And if you know a Danny, you don't think of him as a murderer. You don't think of him as someone who can lynch someone. You think of him as a small, sweet little boy, especially if they put his mother on the stand. And his mother, God bless her, but she tried to, every single second that she could, she tried to interject anything she could. Additionally, even when she wasn't asked, about what she thought was sweet about her son. And anyone knows when you put a mother on that stand, it's very, very hard to convince the jury that the mother is not telling the truth. I also don't think that Mayor Adams' statement last week was helpful at all. I was completely sad and disappointed that our mayor seemed to side with Governor DeSantis, seems to side with all of these people, Kid Rock, all of these people who have been supporting this, quote, good Samaritan, this, quote, hero of society. I will never think Daniel Penny is a hero, ever. I will never think the two men that held Jordan Neely down are a hero. And this will always be a homicide to me. This was a killing. This was a lynching. This was a homicide. And the tension on the subway, I ride the subways every day for 20 years. And no matter how much my income ever is, I will always ride New York City subway systems. I love it. It's part of why I've always lived here. So I don't think this is going to be something that is going to just dissipate. This is a problem. This is a really, really bad problem. I've already noticed within the last couple of days, not only directed directly towards me, but other white people. There is a big sense of white hatred right now, and I hear you. I am mad at white America. I'm angry at white America. I'm disgusted at the history of white America that is repeated in this case by this verdict, by this acquittal, and by the behavior of the lawyers defending Daniel Penny. The characterization of Jordan Neely versus the characterization of Daniel Penny, they painted pictures in that courtroom. And those jurors, unfortunately, 9 out of the jurors were white. None of the jurors were black. The only juror that was ever picked that was black was a black woman, and she was an alternate. So the additional juror that looked just like Daniel Penny, I still want to know, DA, why didn't you use your ejection card? DA, when you saw that juror looked just like Daniel Penny, why didn't you take your red card and go, he shouldn't be on the jury. We don't want him there. I don't understand. I've wanted to ask. I think you did a great job, DA. Great job. But that choice, no. He should have been ejected. Everyone in that courtroom knew he looked like him. Another note, I miss you, Attorney Hardy. Today would have been a great call, a great day for a phone call from Attorney Hardy, I'll tell you that. To be able to comment on this case. And clearly there are two justice systems. That's my last point. This is a clear-cut example of how there are two justice systems. And, things need to change. They're not changing fast enough. I had so much hope with Obama that the country was changing. And sure enough, the KKK backlash with Donald Trump has ejected him into the spotlight and tried to push the civil rights movement back down again. But, Nan, we will not stop. We will keep on fighting. No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace. Now let's remember also, back in the late 90s, and it just brought back so many memories to me today, and every time I went down to that courthouse, and even when I go downtown to take care of all the business or just to be around the city, I recall when Reverend Sharpton sent myself, Attorney Michael Hardy, I remember our brother Norman Siegel was with us, and we were down there protesting against, Ruben Diaz Jr. was with us, was down there protesting against the KKK. KKK came to New York City, right there at 1 Center Street, right on the corner of Worth Street, right in front of 125 Worth Street. And we faced off, me and Ruben, Only me and Ruben face off against all these men dressed in KKK clothing. Okay? Then we got in trouble with some of our own people because we were saying that as people, they have a right to be there and express themselves because of the First Amendment, freedom of speech. But we did not agree with the message that they were portraying. So we were stuck between a rock and a hard place, sticking up for our rights, in which we were told that we didn't have the right today to discontinue the chanting because it was having a so-called effect on the people upstairs. So here we are trying to protect the KKK's right of freedom of speech, but yet our right to freedom of speech was taken away from us today. I just had to throw that out there, Sister Police. Thank you.
So, I hate to say this, but I'm not surprised that we got this verdict. And because it reminds me of Trayvon Martin with George Zimmerman, it reminds me of the chokehold with Eric Garner. Like, that whole time period between 2012, when Trayvon Martin was killed, and 2024. This is now 12 years. How many of us have been killed and nothing comes of it? You understand? It's discouraging, but at the same time, you know me in economics. All the people that funded this campaign, we need to know who they are, find out where they work, and discontinue their business with them. Same thing when, excuse me, when we found out that the Koch brothers that own Kraft Foods were supporting George Zimmerman. A lot of us stopped buying Kraft macaroni and cheese, Kraft products, because guess what? These people, they kill us, and we still spend our money with them. So therefore, we're still making them rich. So the number one way to, like for instance, I like back in the 1960s, the Montgomery bus boycott. The reason it worked and we got changed is because we all stuck together and we blocked their money. Once they realized, oh my God, we need them for their money, that's when we got the civil rights change. We got legislation passed. So now we need to do the same thing. We need to all get on the same page, and we need to stop businesses with anybody who supported Daniel Penny. You understand what? Like, economics is so important. America is run like a corporation. What is good for big business, this is why I'm telling you, I've been watching CNBC a lot these last few months, trying to pass these classes, because when you look at the world from an economic and financial standpoint, it is not the same world that we've been taught to look at it. They do not care. We're giving them our money. As long as we're giving them our money, they will continue to do what they've been doing because there are no financial repercussions. They can pass legislation, but guess what? They can make it temporary where it only lasts 50 years. And guess what? 50 years from now, they can revoke it, act like it never happened, which is what I'm seeing happen right now with civil rights. So all that Dr. King and them fought for, it kind of like is gone now. You understand? Because financially speaking, they're winning. And we have to figure out a way to win. Keep the money within our own community. We're more powerful than you can ever imagine. If you spend your money only on your own community, that's how China became number one. Netflix, excuse me, I'm having issues right now. Netflix had a series called History 101. I want y'all to go back and watch that and look at the history of how China rose. They stopped importing, only exported. You understand? They kept the money. They are the number one country for bootlegging, which is how they got to be so popular. All the manufacturing companies are in China. Guess what? They have the patents. All they got to do is say, oh, okay, yes, you're paying us to do this. We have your patents. We're going to set up another factory over here and bootleg your stuff and still sell it for the same price or slightly different. But the point is they have the patent. The patent for us that's going to allow us to grow is how we spend our money. And I'm going to end there.
I needed to say this. I need to come and say this. We all in the struggle, no justice, no peace. We all doing it. We marching, protesting. I'm here, I'm strong, chaplain for the community, doing this and doing that. Let me tell y'all something. I stopped coming to the trial starting last week and didn't come no more because y'all know what I'm going through with my son. And it looked like it was going left, and inside of me wasn't feeling good. So I said, because I saw myself going there, jumping up in court, saying, "What the hell?" or something. So I couldn't go no more because I saw it. I saw me getting up, going, "Come on, y'all, stand up!" Going crazy. So I said, no, I can't go. I was supposed to talk to my therapist this morning. I told him I want to wait till the verdict come out and talk to him on Tuesday. So I get to talk to him about this, and he's gonna help me release and feel better and stuff about this. So yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I do believe that wraps up this part of the segment. Sister Ashley, thank you so much. And take us home.
Thank you, Damien. Let's clap him up. Very passionate delivery. Thank you all for sharing. We're going to close out in prayer. I'm not even going to start preaching again because maybe I should get a therapist. My emotions are all over the place, and I don't really want to express myself fully yet. But I will say, because it was mentioned, and I might get in trouble, but I'm going to speak for Ashley right now. I totally agree with what Megan said about several things. And it was, Damien also said about the elected officials being present. I can only agree. I don't remember seeing one. I saw a bunch of statements in the media from people, but their presence was not there. Neither were their representatives. We know all of their staff. They were not present. We said that last week. It's a tale of two cities, and Daniel Penny is one, Jordan Neely is another, and they represent complete opposite thing. For what the mayor said was completely irresponsible and completely reckless on his behalf to represent New York City as a mayor. And he made it during a time when the verdict, they were deliberating already, which means the jury could be impacted by his statement. For us to stand outside and to hear them, and you hear my voice, which is why I didn't want to speak because I'm livid. For us to stand outside and them to come outside, they didn't just say that today. They said 2 weeks ago we couldn't use a bullhorn. They said that it was only 7 of us, 8 of us outside that day when the prosecutor came outside and said, y'all are impacting the jury. Y'all are impacting the judge. The judges, they feel uncomfortable. Can you please not use the bullhorn when they're coming? Literally 10 minutes later, Daniel Penny was coming up the block in the van. So for us to say that we couldn't be heard in the court because we were literally saying justice for Jordan Neely and no justice, no peace. And that could impact the jurors. So how can the mayor come out with a statement and basically saying Daniel Penny was right and his response was basically what New York City should do is respond? How is that statement not going to impact the jury? How is that fair? What is the precedent? And it was irresponsible. The only reason I'm saying it was because it was irresponsible. I endorsed Eric Adams. Not Nan, I endorsed Eric. That's my uncle. I believed Eric Adams. So I know you're better than that statement. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I don't even care. My point is that was reckless, that your son's name is Jordan. That could have been your kid on a train. Today there was a statement made, better statement was made, but you didn't retract the statement that you made on Friday. We heard you, Doc. I heard you, Doc. Uncle Eric, I heard you. That's not fair what was said. It was reckless, it was irresponsible. We helped put you in office, and you have a responsibility to those that you helped put in office. You came here on Christmas and you helped feed the hungry. Jordan Neely was in the room. What are we feeding the hungry for if Jordan Neely is in the room and we allowing sentences to be against Jordan Neely the next day? That is not New York City that we elected you to lead. That is not what we elected you for. If the system is broken, the mental health system is broken. You have resources to help fix it, brother. The budget. All of the so many things that we supported you on. So I ask, and I know I'm gonna get in trouble. I don't even care. We need a meeting. You want to talk about mental health? I don't want to talk no more. We need something for Jordan Neely on the table. The case is finished. He can't be tried again because of double jeopardy on the same charges. So unless the lawyers figure out how to charge him on something else, that's also going to take so long. The city is broken right now, at this point for so many reasons. But Jordan Neely, this today was a deciding point in this city and showed that the standard of life, black lives still don't matter here. Broke lives still don't matter here. Poor people don't matter in this city. If you're hungry, you can get a death sentence and it's okay. That's what the mayor said, that basically the New York City should respond like Daniel Penny did. Respond enough to choke somebody out until they die? Even if that was not his intention. He died. And there was no accountability and it was okay in your city, on your F train. That's not fair. So all I ask, just like I'm asking, Mayor Adams, we elected you. Your statement was not enough and it was unacceptable. Your efforts were unacceptable. Putting cops in the train, that's not the answer. That is not answering what happened with Jordan Neely. We see in teen violence all over the city. More cops is not stopping that. CMS funding CMS and putting people in place that are not reporting crimes is not helping the crime rate. So let's really fix the city. Let's put some people in a room that actually care. That actually care not about money, but about us. Put them in a room. Talk to us. We elected you. We helped fund this city. We helped serve this city. We helped build this city. And they keep killing us and saying over and over again, Damien just talked about what he did in the 90s. It's 2024. My mother was there when this place started. My father risked his whole life, his whole entire precedence is set on this. Then you can walk out, but you could have been Jordan Neely on the train. So therefore, we gotta do better. You could have been Jordan Neely on the train. You can go right now and somebody could take it in their own hands because he got found not guilty and say, I'm scared. White fear and white greed is what bred slavery. White fear and white greed is what bred every disrespectful part of segregation. White fear and white greed is what we are looking at. That is what's responsible of what's going on. It's not just black and white. It's white fear and white greed. We didn't come here to be a burden or a problem to y'all. Y'all took us from our land. Made us work for free. Made us, raped us. Literally killed us. We fought. We survived. We did all of this. We overcome. How many times we got to overcome? How many systems we have to be put in place? We put the mayor in place. We almost put a vice president as the president in place. And it's not enough. When is enough enough? We came down there non-violently. Non-violently. Y'all can say what you want to, but all we did was scream. Nobody came to fight. Nobody came to threaten. Nobody had arms. We came non-violently and said no justice, no peace. And justice for Jordan Neely. The boy was hungry. The boy was broke. The boy's family was not even there for him. How many times you got to get rejected in this state to get some help? How many lists you got to be on to get some help? We got people right outside on 145th Street that are delinquents that need help. We've called the cops for help, have we not, Treese? And they say, oh, we know him. He's fine. Is that what happened to Jordan Neely? But Daniel Penny responded to Jordan Neely. Maybe if the city responded to Jordan Neely properly, he would be alive. We must do better because we know better. We've done better. We've elected better. So you must be held responsible for what we elected you for. I'm not being reckless with my words. I have said nothing down at that courthouse. And I could have, but I said nothing and I let everyone else speak. I watched everything, every elected official, everybody, from the high to the low. And people were on their posts, but some people did not show up. Nope. Some people did not say a word, and some people did nothing about it. And you should be called out, and we will not continue to be silent and just walk around and be okay because y'all come and help us on the holidays. No. You were wrong. Jordan Neely is dead, and there is no accountability in your city, and something has to be done about it. I have nothing else to say. Chaplain Jay, please close us out in prayer.
Mother, Father, everything, God, wrap your ministering angels around Ashley. Give her peace in the midst of this storm. We all feel it. We're all there with you, Ashley, but your ministering angels are with you. And you're okay and good. Thank you for the National Action Network. Thank you for the Huddle. Thank you for the staff. Thank you for all that are here and all there is to come. Amen, Ashe.